another Aligner Insider podcast.
Well, hello everybody in podcast land, and welcome back to another Aligner Insider podcast. Welcome to the wonderful year of 2022. Incredible that we're this far in. If you think back when you were a kid, how far in the future was 2022? I think it may have been the Jetsons. I don't even know what that is. But Dr. Barry Glaser and I are here to talk to you about how incredible things are going to be this year. How Aligner Insider is going to continue to be the leading application, destination, and resource for your orthodontic education, information, and making you smile. So, Dr. G, how you doing today?
Oh, well, I tell you, I'm good, but I can tell you what I'm not doing. What I thought I would be doing, back in, like, let's say, so I'm hitting a big birthday. So let's say back in the 70s, if you told me what I was going to be doing in 2022, I thought we'd all be taking like these like rocket shuttles back and forth, taking vacations on like Mars, right? Flying cars. You'd walk into the kitchen and you'd say, "Oh, make me some beef stroganoff," and it would boom, it would ding, it would just pop out of the
Rosie, make me a Bill Stroganoff. Okay,
right.
Miss Dr. Glaser.
Right, the robot would be
Right,
vacuuming
right.
for you and stuff. I mean, the anti gravity belt, didn't I thought by
Yeah,
now, didn't you
sure,
time
exactly.
travel maybe?
We'd be working up at Sprockets.
Spacely sprockets, yeah, yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
And
So
those of you a little bit younger, Google it.
right. Now, having said that, we have some of it, right? I mean, I
We
actually
do.
when I gave my lecture at the AAO this year, talked about like the kitchen of the future and stuff like that. But like you think about like Dick Tracy, and so now I've got my two-way wrist communicator
Yeah.
and or Star Trek, and I've got my iPhone, which is very much probably
Beam me
even
up.
better than Kirk's communicator, because Kirk, that was kind of like a walkie-talkie. This is like
Right.
the entire knowledge of the universe like in your hand.
It's
So
incredible. Yeah.
we have some. I mean, so I guess we shouldn't complain altogether, right?
No, exactly.
Watch
Plus,
TV on demand, right? You don't have to wait for like Sunday night at 8 o'clock to watch your favorite show. You can watch it whenever you want. That's a good thing.
right. You don't have to watch commercials if you don't want to. You could, sit on your couch and watch football games on a 60-inch TV versus go and freeze your butt off and watch a terrible Jets team play.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
there's a lot
On
of
the
things
other
that we
hand, we're
do.
probably closer than ever to 1984.
Right,
Our completely
right.
dysfunctional government.
Oh, completely.
And it
Who
is
knows everything?
going down the tubes.
Right? And the fact that it's funny, people that say they won't do this or that because they're afraid of giving out their data or something's being listened to. Too late. Okay,
Too late.
they know everything, people. Okay,
Yeah,
and
too late.
Alexa knows it all. And I just said Alexa, and I guarantee you, hundreds of Alexas just made. Yep, there's my Alexa turning on right now. She hears it.
Yeah. So that's where we are on Friday, January 14th, 2022. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Exactly. So let's talk about the good. So we're here to talk about adapting to change. Okay. And we've mentioned this many, many times before. So we're in a world now that is completely changing, and who knows what's going to happen down the road. We're in the middle of Omicron now, and people are scaling back again as far as going out and visiting, and who knows and there's going to be what's the new one coming down the pike you mentioned?
Deltacron.
Deltacron. I mean, that's isn't that where John Belushi was in the Deltacron house? Thank you, sir. May I have another?
You're gonna look like John Belushi after getting
Exactly. Deltacron.
Just
Guess what I am now?
Crushed a beer can on your forehead.
Exactly. Guess what I am now?
Exactly.
That's it. So how does one keep in touch with technology? How does you adapt your practice to the times? And how do you, make sure you keep your doors open? Because now a lot of people, are kind of scaling back as far as going out to be able to see an orthodontist, to see a dentist, to go to a hair salon, to see whatever it is. So, what are some of the things that you have in place now that are adapting to the world we're in? Because if you go back to 2018 or 19, I'm sure you got a lot of technologies or platforms or protocols in place that you never that weren't even on your radar 3 years ago, 4 years ago. That now are
Yeah.
part of your everyday life. So let's just
So
talk about the beginning.
Yeah, so the virtual tools, which really came, I was starting to get involved with the virtual tools, and we're talking specifically about virtual consults with Smile Snap and remote treatment monitoring with dental monitoring. And I know we've spoken about this many times before, but I started getting involved with this before COVID-19 actually hit at all, and I was grateful to have both of those things in place. Smile Snap we onboarded at the beginning of COVID.
Right.
Dental monitoring I had already. So, but I was really happy when in that first 3 months when we had the shutdown, I was happy to have those tools. And then summer of 2021 hit, and like that all of a sudden, right? You could take off your mask and you could
Right.
go out again, and things look pretty good. And then of course now we're back to not that we have there's no mandated shutdowns, but we're back to you know, good and bad, I suppose. A highly transmissible virus. It seems like a lot of people are getting more mild illness, which is a good thing. But it's still those reverberations are still reverberating in a society, whether schools are back on virtual learning again, or so it would definitely a step backward.
Right.
I don't know if we're back all the way to the beginning. Definitely a step backward. So we have fully integrated those two virtual tools. Now Smile Snap. Let's talk about that first. So we've talked, and I don't need to belabor this because we've got a bunch of podcasts on this. But basically, it's an acquisition tool to try to acquire new patients and do at least it's not a virtual consultation. It really isn't because we still you can't take records and do all the things that we need to do, but it's a way to acquire new patients. So one of the things that we're doing now, whereas before when patients would go to my website and the little Smile Snap widget would pop up and it would say, "Would you like to have a virtual consultation?" Those were the patients that we were running through SmileSnap, the ones that were inquiring about it. Now, what we're doing is we're actually running almost all of our new patient phone calls as well through it. And for one of the reasons that you and I have talked about before, if especially now with like last week, I had 3 of my 5 staff members out with COVID. So that trickles down to a big log jam, a big pain point where we can't now get all these consultations in because I'm just trying to
Right.
stay afloat, right? So we don't want the last thing that we want to have happen is we don't want to have somebody call up and say, "Listen, I want to bring my 7-year-old with an underbite in for a consult," and have whoever happens to be picking up the phone, probably me, because nobody else is in my office anymore, and say, "Well, we can get you in 3 weeks." Because you know the statistics, right? For what if you say that to what happens if you say that to as a
They'll
prospective
they'll they'll say
patient?
okay, they'll book it, and then they'll call somebody else, and whoever gets them in quicker, they're going to use them and then blow you off.
Right, right. So
That's
I
the
mean,
problem.
and what's the statistics on that? Like, what's the drop off rate?
The drop off rate, it goes, so the first person, so the statistic is the first person to actually speak to a prospective patient has a 70% chance to get them in. Okay, but that drops based upon how quickly you can get them in.
Right,
Okay, because somebody who wants to come in for a consult wants to do it sooner than later. And if you can't see them for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, well, they're going to go to somebody else. It's that simple. So and the odds of them coming to you drops 100. It drops basically the 20, 30% every single week you push them back off there.
right.
So after you push them out 5, 6 weeks, there's zero chance of them coming in.
Right.
So
So we wanted to avoid that. So as far as adaptation, so the using Smile Snap was adaptation level 1, if you
right,
will. Adaptation level 2 was to then make sure that we integrated Smile Snap into all of our new patient phone calls, in particular when we're staff starved and you can't necessarily get them in so fast for a new patient exam. So we feel like that's a bridge. It's not the same as coming into the office,
right,
but when someone calls up, instead of saying, "Hey, yeah, great, we can get you in 3 weeks," and who knows, Dean, if I'm going to actually get them in 3 weeks, because who knows who's going to be sick in 3 weeks in my office,
right, exactly,
or if
right.
they're going to be sick. We have
Mhm.
patients call every day and say, "Oh, we can't come in. Someone's got COVID." So we use the Smile Snap. We drive all of our patients. We say, "Hey, why don't you send in a couple of photos? Go to our website," which is a nice thing, by the way, anyway, because they get to see the website, which you've designed. It's modern, and like I think it's another marketing thing for them to see the website to learn about me there. But they can then upload some photos, and we can have at least an initial consult, an initial contact with them,
Right,
and that helps to keep them in our universe until because we've got this buffer now, right? We've got like this buffer where the patients are coming in, and we've got to hold them for a while until we can actually get them out of the other side of the funnel and get them into our office. So it helps to keep those patients, yeah, engaged. You know what it's like?
Right.
It's like in Disney. Like, everyone loves Disney, but you think about it. If I describe Disney, it's this place where you're going to spend a fortune to go with your family, to stand in the heat for 4 hours, to go on like a 2 minute ride, right?
Right.
That's what it is, to see 20-year-old robots, or 40-year-old robots on the
Right.
Pirates of Caribbean. But somehow people love Disney, and one of the things that they do is they try to keep the customers entertained while they're on the line, right? While they're on the queue.
Right.
So part of the ride experience, if you're going on Space Mountain or whatever it is that as you're waiting there for hours, to go on that cockamamie little roller coaster, you're being entertained. So
Right.
it's the same idea here. Now, it's not obviously not just entertainment. In our case, it's education. So that's one of the major adaptations that we've done the last couple of months, and it's
And
worked well.
it is, and again, those practices that have adapted to these type of change and adapted technologies based upon the times are the ones that are succeeding, are the ones that are thriving and being smarter. Because as you said, your staff is out. 1, 2, 3 people every week. Due to this craziness here, and last thing you want is a new patient not be able to come in because of that. So
Right,
we're back to some of our previous podcasts again. Is orthodontics on demand and
right,
working on their time versus your time. At the old days of, well, we're only available on Thursdays after 4 o'clock to come in for a consult.
right,
Take
exactly.
it or leave it. Well,
Right.
sorry, I'm going to leave it.
Right. You know what the old days were like? Honestly, and I'm not being sarcastic here. It was a shrug.
Right,
Like, my staff would come to me and say, "Oh, doc, we're filled up with new patient exams for the next 6 weeks," and I would go, "Shrug." Like, what? There was like nothing to do about it.
right, right,
I mean, because you weren't going to start. I mean, at that point, we weren't nimble enough to say, "Fine, we're going to bring in more staff." Like, you bring in and train a new treatment coordinator, like you can do that overnight, and all of a sudden
right.
open up all these slots. So, some of those changes maybe we would do back then would maybe be try to shorten up on the consults, or I don't know, but this is a lot better than a shrug. I think
It's,
to
it,
just
it
go, "Hey,
is.
it's the ways
You know,
things are."
because you've got higher costs, you've got more competition. If you want your practice to succeed and you want to make and you want to bring up margins and make more money, you have no choice. You have to be able to see more patients
Yeah,
and be able to do
absolutely.
that there. So that's very important to do, guys.
You
And
know what's fascinating,
listen,
Gene?
we're not a commercial. We're not a commercial or paid advertiser here for Spinal Snap. We're just it's a program that we both like a lot. Greg is a friend of ours, and he
Right.
does a great job over at Spinal Snap. Barry's a user of it, and many of my clients with ortho marketing are users of it as well. And that's why we mention it. Because it's something that we think is the best in class. It's that simple.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's been so. I think it's interesting. I'm taking this online course that's sponsored by the AAO and Wharton. It's an 8-week online course talking about the business of orthodontics. I just completed the first week, and it talks all about like processes and in the office, and how a small change. This I'll go through this quickly, but basically, a very very small change on your operational side can make a huge improvement in your financial side. Like for example, reducing the time to perform a procedure. You think, let's say I can let's say I can get to do an initial banding in 10 minutes less, and you think, that's trivial. But when you add that up over a
Sure.
year, it actually can add up to quite a bit of revenue. And it's the
Hmm.
same thing here. I am definitely, still in a growth mode. I'm not ready to go right off into the sunset. And for me, growth means increasing the number of new patient exams and improving the acquisition funnel, and ultimately increasing my new patient starts.
Right.
So I can't shrug. I can't shrug and go, "Oh well, it's going to be a lousy winter," because that means 2022 at the end of the year my numbers are going to be down. So you have to you have to keep coming up with creative ways to keep the spigots running at full force.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever that spigot of water is coming into your patient acquisition funnel, you want to continue it running full, and you want to make a bigger spigot. Obviously, that's part of what the marketing does.
Exactly. I mentioned your process before. I don't know if you or anybody out there ever watches The Profit. It's a great show on I think it's MSNBC. about a guy, Marcus, his name, who goes in and he invests in businesses that are failing and helps turn them around. It's a guy who I think he started Camping World.
Hmm.
Very successful guy, and he's got three P's that he puts in place for businesses that are failing. And process is number two. First is people. You have the right people in place.
Hmm.
Okay, and then from there you have to have the right process, and then you have to have the right product. Okay, so those are three P's that really go into the success of a any business. And for an orthodontic practice, you have to have the right team in place. Obviously, in order to do it, you have the right process in place, like you get there, and you have the right product by using whatever aligners you use, Invisalign or what have you, or traditional braces to give people the smile they want. So by having those three P's are the basic pillars. Was another P
Yeah,
there,
it
but they
makes and
have
it makes
to
makes
but you have
complete
to also
sense.
adapt. You have to adapt those P's to the
Right.
times. Is what we're doing. So
Right. Right. If
that
you have
doesn't
like a
change.
10 or 15, think about it. If you have a 10 or 15% drop off of new patient exams in Q1 of 2022 because of all of these issues going on now with Omicron, how does that drop down to the bottom line? It ain't good.
It sure ain't exactly. So we got to how do you make it better? And that's again where adapting comes in, is to be able to don't be afraid of people. And the biggest fear people have is change. hundred
Mhm.
percent. And you can't be afraid of change. And it's scary. It's scary as heck to change. I've changed so many times in businesses over the years, and I have to. It's been marketing. And back when I first got into marketing advertising, I was working for the Yellow Pages. There was
Right.
no Google. I would carry around that big book, and that's what people would look at to find somebody. So
Dude,
imagine how
you're
much things
old.
have changed. Exactly. People now, kids, well, like, what's a yellow page? Yellow page is that the pad you write on? It's yellow.
Yep.
They have
Yep.
no clue what that is. Or if you
Right.
went to that, remember back in the day when we used to go to barbers, barber shops, you sat on the yellow pages to get the kid higher up. You put like 10 of them on the chair. So
That's
that's what the
right.
yellow pages were for. But you have to adapt. And don't be afraid of it. And some practices when I speak to and I tell them about using virtual consultations and virtual follow-ups and artificial intelligence, they're like, no, 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 that's not how we do our thing here. We're word of mouth, but we're very community oriented. Guys, communities change,
Yeah.
things change.
Are there,
Word of
is
mouth
there anything
changes.
that will kill a business faster than when someone says that's not how we do things?
Exactly, right,
So
right,
like that TV show. It's like Bar Rescue. You've
right.
seen it. So
Sure,
this
yeah.
is what I find fascinating about human behavior, right? So somebody's bar is dying, right? They're not able to pay their bills, and they're so desperate that they reach out and decide to be on a reality show and have this guy come in. And the guy, I can't think of his name, but he's kind of
John
mean.
John Taffer.
Right, he's like kind of like a wrestler, like he's
Yeah,
like
exactly. Big guy, John
mean and he
Taffer.
yells at
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah,
But they
yeah.
they have this guy come in and they like embarrass themselves on national TV to have this guy come in who is a pro, right? He
Right,
knows how to take a failing business, and typically he focuses on all of those things. He fixes up the physical plant, and he spends a lot of time working on processes. And it's amazing how many of these people go, "No, no, it's not going to work for us."
right.
So it's like in the face of having your business going bankrupt, people are still afraid to change. Like think about that. Like you're going to go out of business tomorrow. Like you're on an airplane, right? And the engines aren't working. And someone says, "Well, if you push this button, maybe the engines will start." And they go, "No, no, 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 that's not going to work
Right,
because I
right.
know that's not how I do it."
Exactly.
And I find that interesting that the one thing about our universe is the one constant is that everything is changing. It's changing slowly, but everything changes. And yet the one of the interesting things about a lot of humans is that they are terrified of change. And I think
Mhm.
that's hilarious actually.
There's different types of change. There's slow change. There's variable change. There's all different types of change. But change is inevitable. You have to change. That's Darwin's theory. Evolution. Things have to change. Otherwise, we're back to the Charlton Heston and
Oh, you are really old,
and
Dean.
the
Come on,
monkeys.
man. Charlton Heston. But how many of your
We're back
clients
to
say to you
right, right.
when you come to them with innovative stuff, how many of your clients say to you, "Oh, Dean, that's not the way we do it here"?
Let me tell you a story about a guy who I brought virtual consultations to that said, "Nah, it's not going to work for me."
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but
Oh, we live in a small town. Like, all the
exactly,
excuses. We
right,
live in a
right,
small
right.
town.
Well, people,
Our patients don't want that. Blah blah
right, I
blah.
don't get
Yeah.
any patients from the internet. Well, that's because you don't have a website. Okay, that's the reason why you don't get patients from the internet. Okay,
Right.
well, nobody calls us from SEO because you don't have SEO.
Hey,
That's the reason
if you
why.
made Dr. Greenberg, my good friend, the oral surgeon, if you made him a believer, right?
did.
Because
I did.
and Andy understands. He has had some very successful web-based businesses, and even
Mhm.
him, he was like, "Oh, this, I don't get any patients from the internet."
And now, in fact, Andy called me today. And the internet is his number one source of new patients now.
Yeah,
And he's
he's got like 400 or 500 reviews, and he's like
exactly. Yep.
knocking
In
out of the
over,
park.
well over a year. Yep. So he's yep. And that's because he
Yeah,
adapted.
yeah.
And he asks. And he listened. So when
But it took him a long time again,
it
and this
did.
is a guy who's computer savvy,
Mhm.
who, as I said, he's had. I don't need to name the business, but he's had run a very successful online
Yep.
business. S-
Yep.
So he understands it. Yet for his practice, that's not the way we do it here.
But he was
But
open
he
to
but he
change.
got it, and that's why he's
He was
doing
open
so
to
well.
change.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's why you have to be open to change, guys. So it's important, and who knows what's going to happen down the pike. But right now, adapt to what's available for you because it is a difference maker. It's a way for you to work smarter, and to work better, and to be able to think. You can't think about how you do things. You have to think about what's in it for me from the consumer's end, and that's how orthodontics works now. It's orthodontics on their time, not your time. So that's what you need to adapt that as far as your thought process and
Yeah, and not to
running your
minimize
business.
it, it is a challenge because at the end of the day, we still want to provide the patients not only with a great experience, but we also do want to provide them with the highest level of care. I mean, that's
Exactly.
still a Glaser Orthodontics, and I would have to say that pretty much every orthodontist on the planet feels that way
Right.
to one degree or another. And so I think part of the fear, like I understand why people are afraid of change, but I think that look, when it comes to change, you think you make a small change in your practice. What's the worst that's going to happen?
Exactly. This
What's
is
the worst
not.
that can happen?
We're
You
not
don't
telling
like
you
it.
open up
You do it 6 months. You don't like it. You go back to the way you did it before. You
we're
know,
not telling you to open up a car wash. We're telling you this is just going to a little bit here, change here, a little manipulation is
right,
going to make a difference, and it's not tens of thousands of dollars.
right.
Okay, it's not a lot of money to adapt to these technologies that can bring you in tens of thousands of dollars, or even more, and to invest in a small amount in order to
The
adapt to
ROI for
technology.
Smile Snap Dean is like ridiculously
No,
insane.
it's
Like I could
crazy.
go to my. If you while we're talking, if we have a second here, I'm going to pull up my. I didn't cut you off, did I?
Nope.
All right,
Mm-mm.
good. I'm going to pull up my Smile Snap dashboard, and I can tell you that. Whoops, wrong button. That since we, and I know you can't see this, but that doesn't matter. But since we have started, so we started really using Smile Snap in the spring of 2020. So a
A
little less than 2 years, right?
2 years, right?
All
20
right.
months or so,
So
right?
right now we there's a little handshake icon. That's the handshake is for the patients that started treatment. So we're up to 58. So 76 we're not interested. 13 need follow up. So 76 just were ghosted us, which is how it goes. 13 need follow up. Maybe they needed to like they came in and they didn't have a dentist or they needed perio or whatever it is. 58 have started treatment. 6 have scheduled a consultation. I mean, we're talking about close to a 50% conversion rate.
And what? So how many? How
Okay,
many?
so let's
How
make
many?
it low. Let's say 40%
How
conversion
many
rate.
patients
So we have. I'm just saying you can do the
started?
math there. So 76 were not interested.
Okay.
58 started.
Okay.
13 still need follow up, so they're still in the funnel, and 6 have scheduled an actual physical appointment to come in.
Now
So
think about it,
58 out
guys.
of so it's
And
we're 35%, 40%.
so,
That's not too shabby.
I love that there. So think about it, just take out your pencil quickly and think how much you charge for Invisalign, and times that by 50. Okay, over the course of 2 years, or even be conservative. Times that by 10. If you
Look, so
get
I can
10
tell you my
people.
average case fee is just about 6,000, right?
All right,
So
so
what's
we're not going to
58
tell
times
people, but
6,000?
58 times six is over $300,000
Right.
in business that that cost you a couple,
150 bucks a month or
a
something
few
like that.
thousand,
100
few thousand bucks
few
exactly.
few thousand bucks a year.
Not too,
No, not
as
bad.
they say, not too shabby.
Right. So for someone to take on Smile Snap for a year, so let's say it cost them a couple of $1,000. It's not a terribly expensive service, for what you can get.
Yep.
You take it on for a year. What is the worst? You tell me, Dean. If you take Smile Snap on for a year in your practice, what's the worst that could happen?
Nothing, because if you just follow the basic marketing principles that listening to my podcast or following us, you're going to I'm pretty much going to guarantee you that you are going to cover your costs on this thing if you follow us in the course of a year.
I mean,
So say,
a half a case start covers it,
exactly.
right?
working with us at Author Marketing, we even get discounts because from Spinal Snap. So contact us if you're looking to do that there.
Even better.
But just say I'm retail and they charge $150, $200, even $200 a month for a higher level thing. It's $2,500 a year. Okay, one case,
Right.
one in the
And
year,
you're in the black already.
exactly one. Imagine if you get one a month. Okay, imagine that.
Back in
Okay,
black.
right? As AC, and back in black, and that'll be another podcast we'll be
Sing
talking
it,
about
Dean.
as ACDC soon. So the return on investment is there. That to adapt the technologies. We're not asking you to reinvent the wheel. We're not asking you to go out and buy a $200,000-$300,000 printer or scanner. We're asking you to make a little bit of an investment to see a tremendous return and to make your life easier, to make your patient's life easier, for you to be, you're in the smile business, guys. Remember that. You want to smile. You want to make people smile. And the only way to do so is to be able to work on their terms and give them the smile they want. So with that said, okay, we're going to cut this off now, guys, because we can talk about adaptation forever. And so thank you so much for listening. Please, if you have any questions, let us know. We'd love to get feedback from you. If you are interested in learning more about any of the technologies that Dr. Glaser has, or any of the programs available for taking your practice to the next level from a marketing standpoint, from an automation standpoint, please reach out to us at Ortho Marketing. We'd love to be able to help you. Please message with us on social media. Over in Aligner Insider, ask us some questions as far as what you want to hear from new podcasts about down the road. And we got some great new programs coming down the pike soon. Some great new podcasts, some great guests. 2022 is going to be the best year ever. So with that said, everybody, be safe, be happy, and don't forget, adapt or die. All right. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.